Stavros Tousios for M4Markets, and today we're going to have a quick look at prices of gold and oil. Gold has continued to move higher despite our expectation, and we're looking for a wedge, but the wedge is still a valid case, guys. Okay, we are meeting resistance here first, yeah, and we'll make that assumption that is the wedge. But at the same time, apart from that resistance over here, which is the wedge trend line, we have something more important and more serious and more strong. Hold on. Apart from this 62 being there, that should be the right one. We have the 50 Fibonacci retracement over here. So here's the thing to remember. If tonight we close above the 50 at 1843, there is high likelihood that we're going to go towards the 1900s and the 61.8, which is the golden pocket, with some sort of first resistance around the 1870. If we manage to close below the 50, then the chances of this having actually ended as a wedge now are going to increase. We should be always looking for the break of the bottom line for further continuation, because usually wedges do go to the first trough. Okay, in this case, it's a bullish case, so to the first trough, and from there we make further assessments. If continuation and then down, it's a reversal wedge. If we see something like this, then it's a continuation wedge. There is the leading and the ending variations. Okay, so these are the important things to mention. One more thing to mention: if this is indeed the case, then this would be something like of a correction. So that would be our first wave, our second, our third, our fourth, and our fifth. And that means that because we're in a wedge, the last wave, the last peak, has to be smaller than its preceding, which is the third wave. That gives us a limit up to around the 1856, guys. So in case we go above 1856, then it will most likely be a case where there isn't a diagonal any longer, unless if it is just the bullish sort of variation, the leading one, and we're not going to see even a small pullback. Okay. That is going to be the most bullish case, I think, in my opinion, as well. Now, we do see some sort of divergence on the 1 hour, but I think maybe this is going to be invalidated. It doesn't matter as much as the cluster that we have between the upper trend line of the wedge and also the 50 Fibonacci. Okay, and tonight's close, EOD, as we said, end of day, is going to be mostly important. Now, oil has gone according to our expectation, because for gold we expected an earlier move to the downside, and we said we are likely going to meet resistance up at this channel. It's heading that way, and while it does that, it also gives us some sort of idea. It hints to a potential hidden divergence to the downside, because you've got very small distance to go through on pricing versus momentum. So it's very likely to give us a hidden bearish divergence. Now, as we head up, of course, we shouldn't forget to look at this sort of channel. It's more of an accelerated version, because this channel guides us through this particular bullish trend. So usually you've got 1 and 2 peaks and 2 troughs. Actually, there is 3 peaks in a wave usually. And that, though, the fact that we might fail to go and hit all that way up here, because we have a very potentially strong resistance at this trend line over here, then this suggests that we get the third peak, which is above that one, right, and above the third peak, right, and without reaching without extending to what this trend should extend to, if it were to continue, which means that if we stop here indeed, then we are very likely going to go down to 77 and perhaps even to 73.30, unless if, of course, we do see a full-blown reversal, right? So up until that low, that will still be considered as a correction and further continuation to the upside, at least in the medium term, which means that there is potential to break above that trend line. But it's very unlikely that it will happen in the first go. If it does, most probably it will be something like this. Okay, so we'll find resistance over here, then come for the bull retest, and then continue higher. I mean, also there is case that we're gonna go down from here, but usually you know, we should really pay attention to this channel low for that to give us a bit more clarity. Now, I do see that signal also potentially popping on the 1 hour. It might get invalidated though, because when we're looking at the 1 hour, obviously the signals are less strong than what when we compare to the 4 hour. So that's going to be all for today.